RotoGrinders. Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD, BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and it's Tuesday, February 6th. So that you know what that means on Tuesdays. We got Tuesdays with Tim. Tuesdays with Tim. It's alliteration. We could with Tuesdays with Tim because we got NHL on Tuesdays now, right? Football's kind of wrapping up. We got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about some Super Bowl showdown stuff and some prop stuff later in the week. But we got some NBA tonight, so I mean you could check out Crunch Time and Grinders Live later today. So click on that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. Tim, it's post All-Star break in the NHL. I was also on vacation for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So
how was your cruise? How was your
like
cruises?
They were fine. They were good. They were good.
Yeah.
Of course. I get home and our dog almost died.
How's the dog doing? How's the dog doing?
Dog's
now?
doing much better. Much better now.
Good.
Apparently he's diabetic. So we just found that out, and basically that's for a week and a half. He lost a whole bunch of weight or whatever, but we took him to the vet. Everything's fine as of now, as of right now.
Right.
But rusty on the NHL streets because I'm looking through some of this stuff and I see people have been traded, lines have been changed. Right, I'm looking through here, but it's an 8-game slate, and my first instinct is Boston power play 1. I mean, just like Pasternak and like my first instinct is to play either one of Pasternak or McKinnon, and then figure out the rest. Right, that's my. I mean, of course, they're the 2 most expensive players on the slate, but I mean, Boston is the biggest favorite on the slate. The power play and even strength 1 is so correlated to each other because they're all on PP1. Van Riemsdyk and Zacha are both like 4,300, 3,900. Can you give me a case why I shouldn't be playing Boston today?
Yeah, other than ownership, I would say that's the only case. I agree with you. That is a very, very strong stack. I think they're going to be very, very popular. They are at home. I think they're pretty much have the highest implied team total, other than maybe Florida and Dallas. Maybe has a higher total also. But I mean, they're right up there with the highest totals on the board. So, yeah, I don't have a really compelling case not to play Boston 1 other than ownership. But just real, I mean, we'll talk about other teams. I don't think ownership is really going to condense too heavily, though, on one particular team or stack, because there are some really, really good spots on the board today. So I don't think that Boston 1 is going to get too overly chalky. Because I think this slate, and the other thing about this slate as a whole, I think pricing is really, really soft. So across the board, not just with Boston 1, but other than Colorado 1, you could get some really, really good correlated lines for really cheap price tags.
Well, I mean, Edmonton, I guess, is another expensive one, but I don't necessarily think they're in the best of spots against Vegas. But I mean, take a look at Vegas, even their first line. I mean, it seems like a lot of it. You're right. It seems like you could get a lot of correlated lines with good players, at least 1 or 2, pretty decently. I mean, we have the here on RotoGrinders. If you have our projections, right, sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You'll get all of our projections, the slate summary, the expert survey. We also get like the DFS stack values. So I always take a look at this. I mean, obviously you could run in lineup. I could run 300 lineups in lineup HQ with stack rules and end up why am I getting so much of this? It's like, well, from a value perspective, I sort by the value column and then I look for the average projection to be fairly high. And I look and I go, okay, where's the value from a stack perspective? And we see here, Boston 1 even strength right down here, 12.48 average projection, very high up in the value list. But I mean, there's a couple of teams here that show up from a value standpoint that I don't know. It's kind of like I feel like I play them and then it doesn't work out. Like Montreal, Washington. I mean
Yeah.
Vegas. I mean Vegas here, and then we also have a New Jersey one, right, against Colorado. Hischier, Palat, and Bratt together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Boston is favored now. Washington is favored. Like, I mean, the Washington Montreal game. I mean, I know Montreal is pretty bad
that
on the
game is
power play.
loaded with perceived value. You know what I mean?
Right.
Washington
I think
is
that's the
yeah.
best way to put it. You use the perceived value. I just look at this and go, dude, you know how often I've played like Montreal one, like Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Matheson. You know how often I've played, Washington's power play, and the game is like 2-1. And it's
Right.
like it's there. Like you get points, but like I know Ovechkin's 5,900. It feels like that's still way too cheap for Ovechkin.
I'm so curious to see what he comes in for ownership, because he is so far past his prime, but he's priced for being so far past his prime. So, and he's in an amazing matchup. So, I'm really curious to see where Ovi comes in owned. I'm also really curious to see where this line 2 comes in owned, because you do get correlation on the power play 1, and you get a super, super cheap even strength line also.
Imagine playing Ovechkin and Oshie together. Like, how old is your lineup?
It's pretty old,
right? It feels like if I were to what I would want to do, like I feel like, I mean, obviously it shows in our stack values, like playing Ovi with Strome, Pacioretty, and Carlson. Like
right?
to me, I don't mind playing like out of all the capitals, I feel the most comfortable with Carlson because
Mm-hmm.
he projects well for 5,600. He's going to be on the ice a lot, and getting double digits out of your defender slots, especially in GPPs, is like almost paramount.
Right.
All these other guys like Pacioretty could show up with 2 shots and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Ovechkin Ovechkin have 3 shots and that's it. And like because they're not a high volume team, it's like the matchup makes them project better.
Right.
But
well, and their prices.
Like I never see the Capital. When did the Capital score 7 goals? I mean, it's rare. It seems like there are other spots on the slate for ceiling that I'd rather take a shot. Truthfully, I'd rather take a shot on the Devils. I'd rather take a shot, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm at Vegas. And the thing is also with the Devils, what's going on with the like I said, I'm coming back from vacation. I haven't played NHL DFS in probably 2.5 weeks. What's going on with the Avalanche goalkeeping situation? Because we have a projected goalkeeper on a favored team that's 6,500. I mean, you got to say that's going to be chalk, right?
That's definitely going to be chalk. Definitely. Yeah. So, I don't expect New Jersey to get a ton of ownership. Maybe that line 1 gets some ownership. Maybe just Palat as a one-off because he's 3,100 on PP1. But that Colorado goalie is going to be very, very popular, I assume.
But that makes me want to play the Devils more. Like, if Adamant is going to be 20-30% owned, I mean, Hischier, Palat, Bratt type of line. Even if you just play 2 of them or something, if you just play, even with like a Nemec at defender or Hughes at defender. Like, I'm not even saying you have to pay 6,600 for Bratt. I mean, Toffoli's on the second line. He's cheaper, but he still correlates on the power play. Right. But I mean, if a lot of people are going to play not like in their non-Annunen lineups, you may find a lot of Palat as a one-off. And my attitude is that if a lot of people, when there's these chalk one-offs, like the way to differentiate yourself is either not playing the one-off or playing the one-off in a correlated way where, Palat ends up with 18 points, but that also means Hischier has 20 and Brad has 23 or something. The Devils score 5 goals, but people have the Palat, but they don't have the other guys. Because
See,
Palat's success is gonna. If Palat scores a goal, it's gonna. I mean, one of these other guys. I mean, these other guys are gonna get points, and they're not gonna be nearly his own.
so like you and I, like we'll play that 3 max 222 tonight or something like that. I don't mind doing that New Jersey play in a smaller, or excuse me, a larger field tournament to get leverage off that shock goalie. But I don't think I'd do that in a smaller field, a single entry or GPP. If that makes sense.
What's the reason you don't want the lack of? I mean, the Devils are obviously significant underdogs.
Right.
Like I'm not like I get your point that typically in smaller field contests, I tend to play the teams that are projected to score a bunch of goals. Right.
Right.
Like if you just stick to that, and the pricing is soft enough on this slate.
Right.
Where you could pay for two teams that are favorites.
Mm-hmm. If the Devils still had Jack Hughes, that'd be different. But this team is like,
but Jack Hughes would be 9,600.
I know, but I mean he's like a top 5 player though. You know, like that would greatly increase the Devils' ceiling in my, obviously, and I don't think people would necessarily want to pay up for him. So
do you think from a cheap ceiling perspective, do you think Vegas, like that Vegas 1 or power play 1 on Vegas, because Vegas is favored against Edmonton.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of playing Vegas either, but I mean they're in a better spot than the Devils are. I mean, where do you get this value? Like if you're going to play something like Boston 1, if you're going to play something like Florida, who I think are a little bit overpriced, but they definitely have a ceiling. If you're going to play or like Vancouver or something that not a good spot, but they have a ceiling, or if you're going to play Colorado, obviously very expensive. Like where does this value come from in a spot where the team is not as big of an underdog as the Devils are?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dallas has the highest implied total on the entire slate, and their whole team is too cheap. The
but who
entire
do you
team.
The problem with Dallas is whenever I play line 1, line 2 scores, and whenever I play power play 1, power play 2 scores, and whenever I play one defenseman, the other defenseman has 25 points. I mean, like to me, like I think it makes it easier now that Pavelski is not on line 1 anymore. Right. I mean, I like Robertson as a one-off, but I think a lot of people are going to like Robertson as a one-off also.
A lot of people are going to like that Dallas 1. I don't mind going to Dallas 2 in GPPs, and I think there's contrarian ways to play the power play too, like go Pavelski, Ben, Heiskanen, like leave off Hintz and Robertson or something like that. So, yeah, like I think there are contrarian ways that you can play Dallas. They're in an amazing spot tonight.
But I mean, they're also one of those teams that they could score 5 goals and all the points could spread out amongst all these people.
True.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I don't mind Vegas. I don't mind Vegas GPPs. Line 1 would be my preferred line, but even line 2 is decent also. Yeah, I don't mind Vegas.
How about from a value perspective, the Montreal never works out for me. But obviously,
I would not. Yeah, Caulfield's the only guy. Line 1 would be the only line. The rest of this team, I don't even know who a couple of these guys are, to be honest with you. So yeah, Tanner Pearson mid-price getting power play 1 time. I guess that's okay too. But I wouldn't touch anyone from line 2, line 3, line 4 other than Pearson.
And Pearson, you have to also understand that if you're going to play Pearson in like cash games,
right?
Like Pearson is someone that has no floor. Like essentially, you're playing him for a goal. I mean, it's like one of those, right? Whenever you're playing, a one-off power play from a secondary line types of players, they may project well because their mean is high because it's very heavily weighted towards goals. But when they don't score a goal, you're sitting there wondering why you only have 1.5 points. Is that one shot? and has only played 13 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those types. To me, I view them as GPP plays more than cash plays. But I'm not even sure that if you're if you're playing cash today, I don't even think you have to get Pearson. You're probably playing like you're playing Palat in that spot anyway, and I don't think you need. Would you say? I don't think you need to play a lineup that's Pasternak and McKinnon in like double.
No, I agree. I agree with you. Pricing is so soft in the mid tier today. You don't have to go stars and scrubs at all.
So looking at the more of them like in the mid tier, we got this like the Winnipeg, like these two. Like, it feels like there's some games where I'm not a fan. It almost feels like I don't even want to play anyone in the game. Like I take a look at Carolina, Vancouver.
Right.
It feels like anytime Carolina and I don't like playing teams against Carolina, and then I don't like playing Carolina themselves. But it seems like they've moved around their lines a little bit. That maybe makes it a little more appealing, but it just feels like Carolina ends up being like whack-a-mole. Like I think like Sebastian Aho is like, okay, you can play him, and then good luck figuring out what line scores and what happens because they spread it out amongst even the fourth line and multiple defenders, whether it be Burns or Jay or whatever, Slavin or and then Vancouver, I mean Vancouver's just overpriced now.
And Carolina's goalie tonight is min price also. We have 2 min price goalies. So, and Carolina's an even bigger favorite than Colorado. So he might end up being chalky. Kochetkov.
Well, that also may take ownership away from Annunen also.
Right.
Maybe the contrarian. This is what someone was going to say in our Discord. By the way, join the best NHL Discord in the business. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. You don't even need Twitter. You don't need X. You don't need a news service. You don't need nothing. Everything is posted in the NHL Discord. So if anyone's in, out, line shifts, the morning skates, any news, suspensions, who knows, trades, it's posted in there. You don't even have to worry about it. What was I talking about?
Taking away ownership from.
Someone was going to say if people are going to play these cheap goalkeepers, it's going to be contrarian to pay up a goalkeeper.
Yes, definitely.
But the thing is that goalkeeper scoring is so number one variant and so kind of a little bit more flatter than the pricing structure that. Like I wouldn't use that as a priority of your strategy. Like if you end up with a Bobrovsky or like who else is up here?
Hellebuck at 8,200.
Yeah, right. They're going to project well, but I mean like Jarry projects well. I mean like even like you don't have to play the $6,500 goalkeepers if you don't want to.
No, you don't have to.
But I wouldn't just say like, no, I'm going to play Jake Edinger just because. Like if he fits, if you're playing lineups where he fits, those would be lineups like the high price goalkeepers would be lineups where you're not playing McKinnon, you're not playing Pasternak, you're not playing higher price guys. And truthfully, when we take a look at our projections right here as of 10:40 a.m., I mean, a lot of the guys even underneath, like in this like 7 to 8K range, don't stand out from a median standpoint. But I think that also means that the field, I mean, if I take away goalkeepers here, I mean, one thing that I like to do in all sports, just like NBA, NFL, I like taking good players when they're not going to be owned. Good players that have like they're good. They may be in a bad matchup. They may be, maybe overpriced. But if they're good, they could score 30 points in NHL on random days whenever, right? I don't like playing like, I'm going to get contrarian by playing a $3,600 guy that typically does nothing, and hopefully they get something at 1% ownership. It's like it feels like Like, if people are going to gravitate towards Pasternak and McKinnon, like we have Crosby and Jake Guentzel here.
Or what about
Zach Hyman.
what about McDavid? He's probably going to go. He's going to go way under owned today. I bet.
True, but you're going to have to pay for. Like, I'm looking at it as
Leon Draisaitl.
Yes.
7,500. Yeah,
he's typically my go-to one-off when he plays on the second line for the Oilers. But I mean, how many people are playing Matthew Tkachuk and Travis Konechny or Tage Thompson? Yep. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this high 6 to low 8K range that, if you told me Sam Reinhart has 4 points today, 2 goals and 2 assists,
right,
against Philadelphia, like that could happen. Kyle Connor. I mean, for their median, they're not priced. They're overpriced. But yeah, I'd much rather take a shot on. Now, would I put multiple of these guys in my lineup? Probably not.
No.
But to me, I almost feel like there's going to be a lot of lineups that look like McKinnon or Pasternak and Palat or Tanner Pearson or something. They're going to be those barbell types, and then people will take a bunch of mid-range 5K, 6K players. It's like, you could avoid the 3K guy and the 9K guy and just play guys, right? Because you could pay that. You could play for Annunen. You could pay for a $6,500 goalkeeper and punt at one of your defender spots with some correlated, some high 3K type of defender, and then just load up. I mean, that's why I take a look at Florida.
Yep.
And I go, this doesn't seem like the type of slate that, like, if you're going to play, I mean, you can play either line 1 or line 2.
Yeah.
Even with like Brandon Montour or something at 4,400. And I don't know how many people are playing Florida, because if you try to play 4 of these guys, you price yourself out of a 9K player. And
they have a 3.5 total, just like Dallas, just like Boston, just like Colorado, just like Edmonton. And I don't think anyone's going to play Florida. So they have the same total also. So
right. But just understand that from a value standpoint, median wise, they are overpriced.
Oh, definitely. There's not a lot of like condensed ownership on the slate because of that reason. A lot of these guys are overpriced for their median.
I mean, you also have like Winnipeg, Pittsburgh. Like, some of these games, like, it just feels like the players are overpriced. But I wouldn't be shocked if this game went over 6.5. Like, I mean, that's the issue that I have here. Is like, I look at Philly, Florida, and go, this could easily be a 6-3 game.
Right.
And then I look at Washington, Montreal, and go, well, look at all this value, and it could easily be a 2-1 game.
Right.
Dallas, Buffalo, I look at it, I go, Dallas could score 6 goals here, and it's possible that no one gets there because it's all spread out. So it's like, who do I play? And then you look at Boston, and that's why it comes back to Boston. It's like, I feel the most comfortable with Boston 1. And McAvoy isn't that expensive either. Like, you could play, like, dude, you could play all of them if you want. I mean, even if you
easily
in single entry, like, I wouldn't put it past myself, even in like the 222, to just say, I'm going to play Van Riemsdyk, Pastrnak, Zacha, Marchand, and McAvoy. I just play the entire power play 1 unit, and then just figure out the rest of my lineup and just be like, Boston power play, just get me some goals. I don't care who scores them. And I think I could get enough points that I could beat 100 people.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very viable strategy. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this Winnipeg-Pittsburgh game, because I'm just not really sure. I kind of like that line too with their prices, but I don't really know how well Monahan's going to do in his first game. So definitely a little tricky there with the Jets.
I mean, to me, I like the Pittsburgh side of the game.
Right.
It's just that it's hard for me to justify paying $8K and $7,900 for a Crosby Guentzel combination. Like I'd want to play like one of them, maybe
But
mix in a Riley
you're
Smith.
overpaying for good players at least, right?
Right, but I mean now I'm
They're
multiplying multiple times.
they're at home. They're at home at least. They are going against the best goaltender in hockey, but they could hit a ceiling.
I'd rather just play a one. It feels like Gunsel one off, and I'm good. Something like that. Same thing for Kachuk. It feels like these are the guys that's like, okay, I can play Kachuk as a one off, and I'm good. Anything else on this? Anything else you're looking at? I mean, obviously, this is the first look. You'll have the slate summary and the expert survey out. But anything else?
I would just say be aware of how much Washington Montreal you're getting. I don't like that game. I think it's kind of a trap. I know they're going to project well for a reason because they're cheap. It's a good matchup, but I'm really scared of Washington chalk. Like really scared of it.
And I play Washington when they're not chalk, and I'm still scared of it.
Right. Like cash games, maybe it's okay, but I really question the ceiling for Washington. And I'm a guy that plays like, higher dollar, smaller field stuff, and I play chalkier stuff, but I don't really like that today.
But it really comes down to what you're saying. It really comes down to the ceiling,
right?
Aspect. Like I think if you play Washington Montreal, if you played a lineup where you're playing Ovechkin, you're playing Pacioretty, you're playing Caulfield, you're playing Carlson, I don't necessarily think you're going to be highly disappointed with the scores that they get from a median. Like Ovechkin has like 13, right, with no goals,
right?
And Carlson has 12, and Caulfield has 10. Or it's not like you're looking at that lineup going, okay, there's no there's no icebergs, there's no you got no flames either. But I mean, you're looking at that and it's like, okay, if you're playing double ups and you get 13 points from Ovechkin at 5,900, you're satisfied. Like it's 5,900. Why the hell not? But in order to win a GPP, I think it's much more like I'd much rather take a shot on the Dallas guys. I'd much rather take a shot on a game like I could see Dallas Buffalo. It just feels like, I mean, when it comes to Buffalo, I don't know about you. It feels like they either some days they show up and some days they just said today's not our day and we're going to lose 8-1.
I mean, Tage Thompson at 6,700 seems too cheap. Same thing with Skinner, but I'm not going to play them against Dallas. No chance at all.
Okay, 8-game slate. I mean, I like these. I don't know about you, but I would much prefer NHL DFS to be this size slate every day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Rather than these like 2 and then 13 and then 3 then 11 and
I wish every slate in every sport was 6 to 8 games. Basketball, baseball, hockey. I would love it to be 6 to 8. That's my favorite number range.
I like a little bit more. I'm more of the give me 7 to 9, give me 8 to 10 every day. Now, obviously, once you get up to 10, it's hard. Well, baseball you could do it, but maybe not in hockey. But yeah, you give me a slate like this, an 8-game NHL slate every day.
That'd be
amazing. I wouldn't get rusty, right? Because I'm like you. I don't play the okay. We have 2 games. We have 3 games,
right?
Because it's an entirely different strategy playing those types of slates, which I'm fine doing. It's just that I feel like I put my money elsewhere on those days and have to do the mental gymnastics of I got to play purposely crappy lineups just to be different from the other lineups that are going to be too chalky. On these types of slates with 8 games, dude, I could build a Boston Power Play 1 lineup, no problem, and still have a decent lineup and still be lower owned.
Yeah, I just play props on 2-game slates,
and there's not that many props to play.
Right,
makes it easy.
Yep.
And if you're going to play props, use our props and pick'em package here at RotoGrinders, right? We have the pick'em tool. You could load it up. We have the Prize Picks NHL stuff, and it's loaded with our projections. Always check the timestamp to make sure that it's updated. We also have the scores and odds prop model, right, for the NHL. That's tied right into our projections. I mean, I literally just download our projections, and I mean, after the show, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to let me take a look at the statistical projections, and I just go on DraftKings or FanDuel or BetMGM or wherever they have the best number and the best price, and I go bang, 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 bang. Typically, I'm doing 30, 40 bucks each, and I'm done, right? Takes me about maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Bang, 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 bang. And as so far this NHL season, I have just under a 5% return, 5% ROI.
That's really good.
Which is, my goal is typically somewhere in the 5 to 7 range. At times it could be higher. It depends on the sport. I think NHL good 5-6% is good. I mean, should be goal, but I mean, NFL you could get much higher. Baseball you could get much higher, only because the numbers move more, right? So getting them, like, to me, the NHL prop markets aren't looked at as much. So, like, you could have the best ones that you find, you'll get a very big edge on. But overall, if you just bet a model, like, you could probably squeak out, 5 to 7%, no problem. In baseball and football, the early lines are worse.
Right.
And you'll see when baseball comes around, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, they'll post these strikeout props, and you'll have a 2 strikeout discrepancy compared to projection.
Right.
And you get it then, and then you wake up in the morning and that shit's gone. Right.
Yes.
NHL, it
football,
doesn't.
Football,
NHL, like,
football moves so fast. NFL moves so fast.
So get them early. NHL, maybe not. Maybe you don't have to worry as much. But dude, I've seen them take DraftKings take stuff off the board. Like, DraftKings doesn't move yet.
Right.
Like, I'll load up our projections and see something with like a 32% edge, and by the time, like, I'll go, oh, okay, let me go, and it's like, where is it? That means someone tried to be too greedy. That's what I think, because that's what ends up happening. If you try to be too greedy, they'll take notice. So that means someone else saw that also, tried to bet the max or something, and then they go, oh, let's take it down. And now not everyone else can't have it. When you're flat betting like I do, I don't know if they could tell. I'm betting 20, 40, 60 things at a time, all the same. Yeah, I mean, well, that's the reason why my ROI is a little bit lower than if you just, like, try to get, like, the best of the best. But the more that you get the best of the best, Tim, the more your bet sizes get limited down to the less of the less.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, Tim, anything else for the NHL today?
Not for the NHL, but I'll be on Grinders Live later with Dean for NBA.
So you'll be on with Dean for what, Grinders Live, right? And then Crunch Time is afterward, right? Because you kind of flip flop. Sometimes you're on Crunch Time, sometimes which one's harder to do? Is Grinders Live? Obviously, some of the news may not be out yet, but on Crunch Time, sometimes you get news where you have to just react as quickly as possible.
I think Crunch Time's harder to do because you have to move so fast, especially with NBA. Like,
a lot of times, Grinders Live, you're sitting there going, this is what we think, but anything could change. So it just feels like you're just laying back and waiting.
It really depends on the sport, but basketball Crunch Time is the hardest.
Baseball Crunch Time is
easy.
Easiest. Right.
Yeah. Covering baseball is easy, just in general.
Right. Occasionally, sometimes we don't get that Dodgers lineup in time for lock. Sometimes, we get a catcher change, or occasionally, once in a while. But I mean, that's what I like about that's why I like MLB. Less stress. I guess Tim likes less stress also. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. Tomorrow I'll have TJ on. We'll be doing an NBA DFS and props and everything else. Catch Tim in the Discord. If you have not signed up for the NHL Discord, it's free. It shouldn't be free. I'm telling you, it shouldn't be free. I wish they would just make it a paid channel, part of the premium, but it's not. And I don't know why. Can someone tell me why? It's too good. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. It's free. Join us. Have fun. Right? Just don't troll or anything. It's a pretty good community in there. So join at RotoGrinders.com. Right? You got Moneyball 16 in there. You got Tim in there. You got Taylor in there. You got a bunch of really good players. A lot of you go to the top 20, the NHL rankings on RotoGrinders, you got like a third of those people like in the chat also. So we got some really smart people in there. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Because I'm here. I'm here for you guys. Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern. Talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props and pick'em on RotoGrinders today.